Hello. Well, I've spent a while now doing all the wiring on the tractor. I can't remember exactly where I was at the end of the last episode, but it's basically all wired now, bar the engine management side of things. So, it's wired to an extent where the engine will run, all the lights and pretty much all the functions on there will run. So I'll give you a quick whiz round and show you it working. So works off a normal ignition key now, whereas it was a couple of little toggle switches before. So we've got an accessory position, which activates this console. So that's the rear light, the side lights or work lights, two lights on the front, and a horn. It's quite good that the horn turned out. It's a two-way rocker switch. So if you press it down, it gives you a horn function, and if you press it up, it will give you a momentary flash on the lights. So. Not that I'm going to be using it in heavy traffic, but it's a little extra that I wasn't expecting. So with the ignition key, that's back to the off position, and then ignition on. So you've got rev counter at the top there, which did sort of work initially, but was erratic and has since given up. So I've got to investigate that. I haven't looked at it yet. Volt gauge underneath, voltmeter, which again I might just try and rewire because there's a fair drop between where it's reading and the battery, and I want to get it as close to battery voltage or charge voltage as possible. You've got potentiometers for the throttle on the tractor engine and the mower engine. This one works now, and it's brilliant. I don't think you probably can't hear it working. I can hear it, but over the sound of the bird song, you probably won't be able to hear it, but that works. And it will also, I just have to put a bit of choke on, but it will start the engine on the key, and that's all off the new battery down there. So you can see how I've made a new harness, run it through flexible conduit, so it's all nice and tucked away and quite robust. If I show you the lights, that's the rear light working. I'll show you the lights at the front. In fact, I'll turn the engine off because it's too loud, but I'll show you the rest of the lights working. Okay, so front lights, work lights, flash, horn. So all I've done at the moment in terms of the engine side of wiring is use what was here before. So the old coil, ballast resistor, points live down under that cover there. So that's all as it was. I've changed the regulator rectifier for a smaller one off a Kohler engine again, but a more modern one, because the old one was a great big aluminium casting heatsink thing here, and the more modern one's much smaller. So that lives on top of the fuel pump there, which actually turned out quite nice and neat. So you can see the ECU is in place, although not wired. I have run wires to the oil temperature gauge and sensor, and the crank sensor, so they're ready to run whenever I get around to doing the rest of it. And all the rest of the wiring here, that's quite a nice little. It's a cheap Chinese thing from eBay, but a little combined fuse and relay box. That's worked out quite nicely, to be fair. Some of them can be a bit tight for getting everything in, but that one's not too bad. That was the main earth point there, and the starter solenoid. There's a couple of failures with it. The main one being, well, obviously I said about the rev counter. Not quite sure about that, but I have installed a hall sensor on the flywheel of the engine, as I've done on other things, and so it should have worked, but I've got to look into that. The other thing that hasn't worked properly is the charge warning light, and that's pretty much due to lack of understanding on my part. I had it in my head that it would work a certain way electrically, and it's turned out not to work that way using a diode. What I didn't realise is that these type of rectifier regulators, I didn't think they needed an exciter voltage, but it turns out they do. It's for a different reason to an alternator, whereas that needs an excitation voltage for its field coils in order to magnetize the field coil to make it then start charging. These things need an exciter voltage, because I think they compare that voltage, i.e. the battery voltage, to what they're charging. So without a direct connection to the battery, i.e. if you've got a diode in the line in the reverse bias direction, they won't charge. So I then thought, I'll be clever and use a Zener diode, and my understanding of how those worked was slightly wrong as well, so that didn't work. So the third iteration will be coming hopefully soon, when I've learned another way of doing it. But yeah, hopefully that'll work. But yeah, no, so it's made the tractor usable again now in terms of the electric side of things. Obviously I had the problem with the back end again, so I've just rebuilt that. Well, you've seen me rebuild that, and I've just filled it up with oil, so it's ready for a test run. Oh, that's the other thing that I put in down here, is that I've used a 7-pin trailer socket, nice die-cast aluminium one, and that's my electrical connection to the mower, which I'll show you now. So I've got the matching 7-pin connector, which I've just wired up on the mower. I run the cables up through the drawbar here, so it's all nice and sort of protected. But I don't know if you can see down there. I've yeah, so here's the end of the mower. I left a fair bit of spare on there just in case I needed to elongate the bit at the front, and just P-clipped it up so it's all nice and out of the way. So there's the new throttle servo, same as on the tractor. So I'll be using the Polarloo servo control board, whatever you want to call it, in the console on the tractor to control the throttle on this using the right hand pot. That just goes round, that just pulls a conventional throttle cable round to the let me just show you in there, into the throttle control part. Interestingly, when I was working on this, getting caught up in the hedge, sorry, I found out that there was a throttle sort of restrictor on here, so it restricted the movement of the throttle. So not an airflow restrictor, but it restricts the opening movement of the throttle. And I think, as far as I can tell online, that's the only difference between this engine and the slightly more powerful one. So this is the CV18, which is 18 horsepower, and the 20 horsepower version, I believe the only difference is that throttle restrictor. So it should now be a 20 horse engine, but who knows? So I've run all the electrics in here now. You can see where they connect into the original connector on the engine. So provided I've got that all right, I should be able to test it shortly. So yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, it's time to go for a test drive. We'll go one step at a time, test drive the tractor first, then hook up the mower and see if we can actually cut some grass. Put the camera in the way, didn't I? Right, so I call that a successful test of the tractor. I forgot to show you the throttle potentiometer working, but I'll do that in a minute. So I'm going to test the electrics on the mower now. The one thing I will have to do before mowing, I just remembered, is set up the polo loo for the servo movement, because that won't be calibrated yet, so it'll be all over the place. But yeah, well, we'll plug it in, see how it goes. This switch, in this position it will start the tractor engine, and in this position it should start the mower engine. And this switch is basically a kill switch for the mower engine. Right, okay, so that part's working. So in this position you can see that tries to start the tractor engine, and then in this position you can hear that wanting to start, although it's not turning over, which is not a good sign. Okay, that's sorted now. There was two problems. The first being the way round I had this in here, even though I changed it round, I was 180 degrees out. So that's sorted. So that now means if I put you over there and throw the switch, you should be able to hear the relay clicking. So that's controlling the fuel shut-off solenoid and the earthing of the magnetos. The second problem was that this connector here is a bit corroded because it lives outside in the wet, and this blue and green wire on the top here is the signal wire for the starter solenoid, and the corrosion in here was just causing too much of a voltage drop when you're trying to start, so it was dropping it down to like 5 volts, which was enough to make it make a noise but not enough to engage it properly. Oh, I've still got the cover off here so you can see that. So there's the it's a 5-pin automotive relay that I've used there, so that switches the earth, the magneto earth. It disconnects it when you turn the ignition on. So just put all that back in there, and then see if we can have a go at starting it up. Oh no, I'm getting ahead of myself. We've got to try the servo now. Okay, this is the Polo Loo front end for controlling the Maestro servo controller. I don't know if you can see that very well, but these sliders here, there's one for each potentiometer and one for each servo. And the first one and the third one down are the potentiometers, so you can see the third one down moving left and right now. So that's as I rotate the mower engine throttle knob, and likewise with the tractor one. Because the tractor one's already set up, you can see as I rotate it, this one's also moving. So that is the movement of the servo. So although because the ignition's on, the servo's not actually moving, but this is the signal to the servo. So if it was turned on, it would be moving. So I just need to copy the code I used for the or the script I used for the tractor engine servo into the one for the mower, tweak it for its min and max positions, and then we should be good to go. So if I come onto the script page, so you can see, I don't know if you can see, I'll try and get in a bit closer. So that's the script there, the different lines of code, and you might just be able to see a little cursor flashing around there. That's showing that the script is basically running endlessly, so it's constantly updating the pot position and putting it out as a servo position. But obviously it's looking at 2 distinct channels at the moment for the tractor engine. I need it to look simultaneously at the other 2 channels, so I'll just have a go at that. Okay, well, I've got that working. That was easy enough just to duplicate the code for the mower servo. So now if I move the mower, and so you look at the bottom 2 channels, number 3 is the pot position, number 4 is the servo signal position. So now I've just got to power it up, and see where the min-max positions are for the servo, tweak that, and then we should be good to go. I've had all sorts of problems with it, but I've finally got it working. It's not 100% yet, but it is working. I am actually doing some mowing, so before anything else goes wrong or breaks, I'm going to try and get some footage of that. Okay, so that's it. Managed to get the first cut of the year finally done on May the whatever we are, 17th. So a bit late, but yeah, all in all, it's not bad. It's doing 90% of what it's meant to. I think there's a problem with the governor on the engine on the mower, but I can't quite get to the bottom of it. But you could probably see then when I throttled back, it came back to quite a nice idle, which it wasn't doing before. So there's a little bit of slack in the system. I need to get a stronger servo for the throttle on the mower, because that it doesn't allow you to have full throttle. Although, to be fair, the grass wasn't particularly long this side, but it did seem to be enough throttle to you know, power through that. So it's not as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. Got to look at the starter solenoid, because that's sticky, so whether it is that connection I thought it was or something else, I don't know. The exhaust repair that I did in one of the previous episodes is cracked already. It gets so hot there, so I mean it's a horrendous bit of exhaust pipe work, to be fair, but it does seem to get very, very hot there. So whether it's running a little bit lean, so I need to just have a look at the carb adjustment. But no, other than that, it's pretty good. The hand throttle on the tractor makes a hell of a big difference, because normally you're constantly using the foot throttle and adjusting the position, and after mowing both sides, you know, I get off with a real bad ankle ache, so that's disappeared. The front axle is brilliant. It gives me way more steering lock than what I had before. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a bit light on the front end now, because I've taken the battery off the front, which has made it lighter, and with the mods I've done to the mower, that's put more weight on the back, so it's sort of double worsened it. And it's not bad until you try and turn tightly going up a slope, and then you do see it start to skid there, where it's just bouncing on the front end a little bit, but that's not too bad. Hydraulics working well. To be fair, they always have done. So yeah, all in all, not a bad test. Nothing's completely crapped itself. So yeah, that's pretty good. just been given a trailer load of ashwood that I'm going to have to store for a couple of years to season. So it's time to make a new log pile for that, which is a good excuse to do a bit more work with the tractor, because I've got to tow the trailer into a position to save a bit of work. You can see the bonnet's missing at the moment, and I don't know if it's in shot, but it's just down there. Because finally I'm sort of at the stage where it's ready to have a bit of paint on it instead of the horrible old flaky orange stuff that somebody had slapped on with a brush. So I'll just show you the bonnet. This is about the 10th coat of so say industrial grade paint stripper, and it is coming off, but yeah, it's taking some shifting. But you can see I've gone through the orange now, and I'm down to the original whole wool green, and you can just see the remnants of the stickers on the side there and stuff. But so it's uncovering a bit of history. But yeah, you can see it is coming back to bare metal gradually. So yeah, once the bonnet's done, I'll whip the grille and the dash off and get them all painted up as one, and then do the wings again. I've made a bit of a rob for my own back with that, because the where I've wired it up, the wiring harness goes through the wings, and the consoles are riveted on. So I've either got to de-wire it and take the wings off completely, or just mask the hell out of it and try and make the paint look as good as possible. I'm not after a 100% perfect finish, but just something that looks better than what was here before. It shouldn't be too difficult. But yeah, let's stack some wood. Well, there we go. There's a satisfying little job done. Hopefully that'll sit there now for a year or two without falling down on me when I'm mowing next to it. Yeah, and then it'll make its way into the pig cot maybe in a year or two, and yeah, we'll replace it with something else then. But that's a satisfying little job, that. Well, that's the tractor fully tested and back in action. The repair I did to the train drive on the back end of the tractor seems to have held up well. I was a bit nervous to start with, but I've done a few jobs like pulling the trailer full of logs round and pulling the mower around, and yeah, no, it's fine. It's gone really well. So next thing really is to yeah, tidy up a couple of little jobs and then carry on with the painting. So that was why the bonnet was missing. I think I mentioned that in one of the clips, but and incidentally, you might have noticed that the quality of the clips in this video have improved from all my other videos. That's because I had a new GoPro for my birthday back in May. It's a Hero 7 Black, so it's 4K capable and 60 frames per second and a load of other stuff I don't understand. So, but yeah, it's a massive improvement on the old camcorder I was using before. It's so much easier and smaller and lightweight and blah blah blah. I think there was the last two clips were recorded on my phone, which is pretty good as well, like better than the old camcorder. So yeah, hopefully you'll the video quality will improve. I'm not sure about the content, but the at least the quality of the videos be a bit better. But well, thanks for watching, and yeah, there should be some more videos going out soon. Cheers.